Hey, this is Sydney from PayHOA, and in this video we're going to step through how to create a payable. You can create a payable either from an attachment that came through on an invoice to your payables inbox, or you can create it manually using an invoice you upload or without an invoice at all. So in this example, we're just going to start with an invoice that came through on our email here. So I've got it pulled up and I'm going to do create payable from attachment. This is going to give you a list of everything attached to the email plus the email body. So if you have multiple invoices, you can select which one you want to create from. And if the vendor didn't attach any invoice to the email, you can also just create it from the email body. So we're going to hit this invoice and create payable. Then we're going to fill in our details here. Here I'm going to input my invoice date and the invoice due date. If this invoice needs to be split between multiple categories, you can do that here. So I'm just going to hit this plus. You can change these amounts if you need to, or add more splits, or delete a split. This payable requires 2 approvals, so we can either send this for approval and go ahead and schedule the payment, send it for approval only. We can also mark it as paid, which would not require any approval. And we can also save it as a draft and take care of it later, which also doesn't require approval. So I'm going to send for approval and schedule payment. You have a couple options here. You can either have PayHOA mail a check for you for $1.50, or you can print a check locally and send that to the vendor yourself. If I mail a check, I'm just going to select my payment account, the next check number, and I can either send that immediately after all of my approvals have been granted, or I can set a specific date. So if this invoice is due on the 31st, maybe I want to send it out on the 25th. If I have all of my approvals by the 25th, that's when it's going to go out. If the 25th does come and all approvals have not been granted, then this payable is going to wait until those approvals have been granted and then send it immediately if this date has passed. If I print a check, I'm also going to select a payment account so the system knows what check details to print. I'm going to select a check number, a check date. You have the option to either use pre-printed check stock that already has your account information on it and check number, or you can use blank checks. If you're using blank checks, you're going to want to make sure to check these optional fields to make sure that they print on your check. But if your checks already have that information printed, then you won't select those. We can also send this for approval only if we'd like. If these get approved, then they'll be waiting for us to schedule them or pay them some other way. You can also mark these as paid or save as a draft. If I mark a payable as paid, the system's going to ask me if I need to create a new payment record in my transactions, or if I've already got that payment record in transactions and I just need to match it up. So in this case, I'm just going to create a new payment record and say that I paid it today and create that. Once you've gone through that whole process, you'll be able to see the payable details here. All of your invoice details are up here, all of the payment details. You can re-download the invoices or add any notes that you might want. Now that I've marked it as paid, this payable is going to show up in our paid tab right here. This is also where you'd be able to see any payments that have gone out as mailed checks already. For any payments that haven't gone out yet, you'll be able to see those in unpaid. Thanks for watching.